What would you do if the forest answered your question? If you struck the air with a single knock and something hidden in the darkness knocked back? Tonight, we stepped into a valley where the trees responded, the shadows moved, and two towering figures watched from the ridge as if waiting for someone to notice them. Welcome back to Rick's Storyverse, where the wilderness keeps its secrets and every story carries a spark from the edge of night. In the deep forest of Ontario's Madawaska Valley, where the pines rise like ancient pillars and the lakes hold their silence beneath morning mist, a series of encounters unfolded in June of 2026 that would leave witnesses shaken, investigators puzzled, and the valley itself marked by something that moved through the trees with deliberate, unsettling purpose. This is the documented account of what happened in those woods, told exactly as it was reported, without embellishment, without distortion, and without the comfort of explanation. On the evening of June 14th, two friends were camping near Spectacle Lake, a quiet stretch of water surrounded by dense forest and narrow ATV trails. The sun had dropped behind the ridge, leaving only a thin band of gold across the treetops. The air was still heavy with the smell of damp earth and cedar. They were preparing their fire for the night when the first sound came. A single, sharp wood knock echoed through the valley. It was not a branch falling, not a distant hammer, not the crack of a tree settling. It was deliberate, clean, and resonant, like someone striking a thick piece of timber with another. The two men froze. A second knock followed, deeper, from farther up the ridge. Then a third, closer than the first. Three knocks, triangulated, as if something was signaling across the forest. The men called out, thinking maybe another group was hiking nearby, but the woods answered only with silence. Minutes passed. The fire crackled. The lake remained still. Then came the smell. Witnesses described it as earthy, musky, and overpowering, like wet soil mixed with animal fur. It drifted in on a breeze that hadn't existed moments before. One of the men said it felt like the forest itself exhaled. They scanned the tree line with their flashlights, but the beams dissolved into the darkness. That was when the smaller figure appeared. It stepped out from behind a spruce tree, no more than 30 meters away. The witnesses described it as roughly 5 feet tall, covered in dark hair, moving with a strange, cautious gait. Its arms hung long at its sides, and its head tilted slightly, as if studying them. It didn't run, it didn't threaten. It simply watched them. Then, from the ridge above, a second figure emerged, much larger, broad shoulders, massive frame, easily over 7 feet tall. The smaller one turned toward it, and the two stood together in the dim light, silhouettes against the trees. The witnesses said the larger one made a low, rumbling sound. Not quite a growl, not quite a vocalization, but something deep enough to vibrate in their chests. The smaller figure responded with a soft, chirping noise, almost like a bird, but too controlled, too intentional. Then both creatures stepped back into the forest and vanished, without a trace, without a sound. The men didn't sleep that night. At dawn, they hiked out and reported the encounter to the Bigfoot Mapping Project, providing coordinates, weather conditions, and the detailed account. Their story matched other reports from the same week. On June 12th, 2 days earlier, a couple driving along a gravel road near the same valley saw a large, dark figure cross the path ahead of them. It moved quickly, covering the road in 3 strides. They described the same earthy smell, the same long arms, the same massive frame. And on June 10th, a fisherman on a nearby lake heard wood knocks echoing across the water at dusk. He thought it was someone signaling from the shore, until he realized the knocks were coming from 2 different directions, alternating like a pattern. And on June 9th, a hiker reported finding a fresh footprint in the soft mud near a creek bed, 17 inches long, deep heel impression, clear, mid-tarsal break, no claw marks, no boot tread. The Madawaska Valley had become active. Investigators arrived on June 15th to examine the area. They found broken branches at 8 feet high, a bedding site made of compressed ferns, and a series of impressions leading toward a ridge overlooking Spectacle Lake. The impressions were spaced far apart, consistent with a stride length exceeding 4 feet. The investigators noted that the forest was unusually quiet. No birds, no insects, no small animal movement. As if something large had recently passed through, on the night of June 16th, the team conducted a sound test. They produced a single wood knock. The forest answered with 2, one from the ridge and one from the valley floor. Both knocks were separated by distance, but close enough to be coordinated. The team recorded the event. The knocks were deep, resonant, and unlike any natural forest sound. Later that night, one investigator reported hearing heavy footsteps circling their camp at a distance. Slow, deliberate, pausing between steps. The footsteps stopped when the team shone lights into the trees. No eye shine, no movement, only silence. At 2:14 a.m., a low vocalization echoed from the ridge, long, rising, and ending in a sharp drop. It lasted 4 seconds. The team described it as unlike any known animal in the region. Not a bear, not a moose, not a wolf. Something else. Something with lungs large enough to produce a sound that carried across the valley. The next morning, they found a fresh impression near the ridge trail, 17 inches long. Same shape as the earlier footprint, same mid-tarsal break, same direction of travel. The investigators concluded that at least 2 creatures were moving through the valley, one large and one smaller, both avoiding direct contact but responding to sound, both leaving physical evidence, both documented. The Madawaska Valley sightings continued for 3 more days before stopping abruptly. No more knocks, no more smells, no more footprints. As if whatever moved through the forest had completed its purpose and left. The valley returned to normal. Birds returned, insects returned, the silence lifted, but the witnesses did not forget what they saw. 2 figures, one small, one massive, watching from the tree line, communicating across the forest, leaving behind impressions in the earth and echoes in the night. I'd like to end this story with a poem, and here's the poem. The forest held its breath in muted fright as knocks rang out across the edge of night. 2 shadowed forms stood watching by the flame, unknown, unseen, yet bound to earth by name. Their voices rose in low, unearthly sound, a warning woven through the dark around. Each footprint pressed a secret in the loam, a mark that said this valley was their home. They vanished when the breaking dawn took flight, but lingered still in memory's fading light. So if you walk where silent ridges loom, beware the knocks that echo through the gloom. That's another story. from the edge of night. Please like and subscribe to keep the torch alight. But beware, every Friday night, a new story emerges from the shadows into the light. Good night.